Hello, my Red Tribe, and welcome to another episode of Dr. Red Diaries. On today's episode, I have a very special guest. She's my friend and a former colleague. We had the opportunity of working together, I think, some years back. And she's also a nurse, and she'll be sharing her story with us, her journey, becoming a nurse, serving, and even working in the Nigerian healthcare system. So everybody join me to welcome Nurse Sweety.
Hi everyone. Thank you, Dr. Red, for having me. You guys know as Dr. Red, but I know as Dr. D. And it's a privilege to be here to speak to you. My name is Sweety. Yes. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you for joining us today. I think I wanted to have this nursing segment because I wanted to also share another aspect of healthcare. That's the nursing aspect, and maybe get someone who is not just young but also has had some personal experience. Either schooling in Nigeria, working in Nigeria as a nurse, because that's also a very different ball game entirely. So let's just start. So the first I'm going to talk about is maybe you should just tell us about just a brief intro about yourself and where you school and even the reason why you decided to study the nursing.
Alright. So, like she had introduced me, my name is Sweety and I'm a nurse. I always forget to introduce myself as a registered midwife, but I'm also a nurse and I'm a midwife and I've worked in both capacities. I've been registered for over 3 years. So I've been working as a nurse and a midwife for over 3 years. And I schooled in Nigeria. I went to the University of Lagos, University of First Choice. Any other university, there's this slogan.
In Nigeria.
We have just 2 universities.
In Nigeria.
University of Lagos and others. So the others are the other people, other universities in it. So I went to Unilag and I wouldn't say I had like a big moment to say, oh, this is why I wanted to study nursing. Growing up, I've always been a logical person to say, okay, this is what I feel like I should do based on my strength. And I remember in secondary school, senior secondary school, I wouldn't say I had issues with mathematics or chemistry, but I found out that my strength was in reading. Just give me textbook, I can finish a whole textbook. To read, to draw. So at that time, science, if you're in science class, either medicine or nursing. Yes,
yeah, actually.
We didn't really have a lot of options, at least based on my environment then. So it was a thing of medicine or nursing. So at that time, I just made the decision to just choose nursing, and it was based off on, oh, I want to have time for my family. It seems like because it is more flexible than being a medical doctor. Only if I knew.
I feel like it's even worse because of the time schedule. Actually, I think
many times whenever I think back, I'm just like, oh God. If I knew all the things that I knew now, I'd probably have chosen something else.
Like what?
Something that is not, I don't know, but then I was just based off on, oh, I want to have more time and, it's either medicine or nursing. So I just went for nursing.
I think people that choose that say, oh, they want to have more time and do like any healthcare field, I think that's just a waste of time because I think any healthcare field, I don't think you have time. Like, especially in Nigeria, even outside of Nigeria, because you're talking about the work schedule, you're talking about being short staffed. We're talking about the crazy nurse to patient ratio, doctor to patient ratio. You don't even have time. Like, so when people say,
it's when you are in it, like,
that's when you realize that,
I'm doing this bit for myself. Then I didn't know all these things. I just thought, oh, medicine seems like a more tedious career path. So why not go for something that is much more flexible according to my thinking
than medicine? Yeah, I actually understand. I get actually. But when you school, how many years did you do your nursing?
Yeah, so nursing, so a lot of people don't know this, and I always find myself trying to school a lot of people, even the educated people. Yeah. So the way nursing started in Nigeria, people are used to school of nursing. Yes. 3 years. Yes. And after 3 years, you start working. So so a lot of people think, oh, you went to which school did you go to? I'll say Unilag. Say, oh, I didn't know Unilag had school of nursing. I'll now have to try to explain to them. So there are two pathways. Even at the moment, it's no longer really, school of nursing is not really the word anymore. So most of the school of nursing are transitioning towards college of nursing. Oh, okay. So yes, initially you would graduate with diploma, but now we have a program where if you go to college of nursing, you would do, it's now 5 years. Wow. So you would finish with ND, like HND. HND, yes. Polytechnic standard. But I went to the university, so it's like a normal degree process. I wrote WAEC, I wrote JAM, I wrote post-JAM. So it's actually BSc, sort of BSc nursing. Bachelor's of Degree Nursing. Yes. So I spent 5 years. Nursing program is 5 years. Child, there was no strike. You didn't experience strike. So with the strike, I think I spent 7 years. That's what I was waiting for actually. Yes, I was supposed to graduate in 2020 because I gained admission in 2015, but COVID strike, I did my induction in 2022. Wow. So plus 2 years, so I spent 7 years. Like you might actually have done medicine in peace because let's talk about my set that now chose medicine and surgery. I think they spent close to 10 years, if not. My sets are currently doing their house job. Yeah, you can imagine. And that's like how many years ago? And that's like 5 years ago. Yes. Like 3 years ago when you graduated. Yes, actually. So you can imagine, like, I think it's part of the challenge because most people that are schooled in Nigeria, for example, or schooled in Nigeria, one of their major prayer, you can imagine being a prayer point, please. There should not be strike. Let me do my normal. I know someone that actually studied medicine in Nigeria. There was no carryover, but the person did 11 years. If you had strike and so many other things. Imagine if you don't have carryover. And carryover, yeah. Like I have a colleague of mine where she had carryover, not just because she failed the exam, just because of how default the system is and was and is. So she had to spend like 1 or 2 extra years in school, and it is not based on our own mistake. So it's just a lot. Nigeria is a lot of prayer and God. Because at a point when I was in 500 level, yes, it was I had to turn it to a prayer point because a lot of things were happening. COVID, then reform in our department. So it was looking like we might have to spend, some people might have to spend extra year. So, yeah. So it's a matter of, it's like, when you enter school, you're like, oh, I'm gonna graduate with first class, I'm gonna make my prep. Nah, just God, please just let me graduate in peace. So it's a lot. It's interesting. But how was it like schooling? I would like to ask people that schooled in Nigeria. How was it schooling in Nigeria? Like, as a nurse, for that, how was it going through the Nigerian system, schooling in Nigeria? Was it interesting? If you were going to maybe describe it in maybe one sentence, for example, for one word, how was it? A lot of words to describe, actually. I would say it was interesting, stressful, and for lack of better word, there were times where I had I wouldn't say mental breakdown because I consider myself to be a strong person, resilient person mentally, but because I went to the university pathway, most of my years in school were in medical school. Yeah. So I had there was an opportunity we interacted with other people that were studying other courses like medicine, physiology, biochemistry, dentistry, and so the environment is a very high pace. Like we had cases of where in my class we had cases of where people dropped down along the way. Yes. We had cases of where like I have someone that I didn't know the person personally, but my school is if you know College of Medicine, I know you know that it's a small environment. Yes. So if you don't communicate, you shall know someone by face. So I knew him just idea and there and just to hear the news that he committed suicide. Yes. Actually, you heard of that news? Yeah, I think I did. And also, I think it's one of the most common things which I can always talk about. One of the most common thing that happened either with anybody that studies any form of health course, that medicine, nursing, dentistry,
even going through medical school, even I did school in Nigeria, but I actually had someone that because of the fear of disappointing her parents, it was in her final year and I think she wasn't doing so well. It's not easy everywhere. The truth is, health and medicine, studying it is not easy everywhere. I'm not even talking about you started working, no, that was a different conversation entirely. No more people that commit suicide there. But I mean, going through school, I think in our final year, I think we have opportunity to always write our exams like 3 times. So the first time she failed, second time she failed. I think the third time she just did not want to even go through that stress. She just wrote in notes. She was still in school, imagine miles away. She was still wrote in notes and then she took her own life. You can imagine that just because she had that fear of one, not passing the exam, and two, disappointing family members or our parents or whoever it is that sponsored her to school. And I think that's part of the challenge that a lot of people that studied either medicine or any form of health course deal with every single time. That fear of disappointing someone or failure. And I think it's something that we should really talk about or encourage people, make them know that okay, whether they pass or fail, you're still a human being. You see how you still have opportunities to really make it in life. Let me go with that. Make it in life and get something good out of life, even though you don't end up maybe becoming a medical doctor. I know a lot of medical doctors, for example, or even nurses that are no longer practice. Yeah. Do you understand? They're no longer practicing at all. They are not, they've gone into other things because of, especially in Nigeria, because of the struggle that we are facing. So let's just move into something else in this part. So let's talk about your experience, maybe working as a nurse in Nigeria. Just your stories. Don't tell me your experience working as a nurse.
I don't know which angle.
For all angles. Working with doctors, working in the hospital, if you want working in the private sector compared to working in the government sector, the differences, dealing with patients' relatives, like it's a whole lot actually.
So I've been a nurse. I've been practicing actively for 3 years, and in those 3 years, I've had the opportunity to work in both government and private. Government in the sense that after nursing school, you have to do your internship.
Yeah.
So I did my internship in the government facility. Then NYSC, I was posted to the north. I worked in the government facility. Then now that I'm working in a private facility. So I feel like I have like a mixture of experience from both environment. Yeah. So I would say let me start with my experience as a nurse. So it is more of good. It is more of bad. More of bad.
I mean to say maybe you have a different experience. A lot of people
it's so a lot of my friends will be watching this video and they'll be so surprised because while we were in school, I was one of those very optimistic person that nothing is like let's just persevere. There is light at the end of the tunnel and everything. But then the real world now is just making me realize that I've had a lot of times. Like I think the number of times I've questioned myself this year, like who sent me nursing? Like why did I choose nursing? If I were to be paid for it, I'll probably be a millionaire. And I'm not even like
no, I agree with you. I know I agree with
because of how stressful it is. So as a nurse, let's talk about healthcare. It's a sector that is quite sensitive because you are dealing with people, at least the clinical side of healthcare, that is where I work, and you are dealing with people in their most vulnerable state. And it is now in a country where the system is not that great in quotes. So it seems like nurses are like the front line, like because we interact with the patient mostly, times,
yes.
All the aggression
they pass it, yes.
Because imagine, let's just paint this picture. You are coming to the ER, like there's an emergency, and you are coming. The first person you are going to meet is probably the ER nurse.
Yes.
And she is trying to do her best. And people forget that for a patient to get better, it is not just the role of the nurse. It requires, is a multidisciplinary something. Just nurses, doctors, then other field work in the background, radiography, physiotherapist, and all of that. But the person you are seeing is the nurse. So it means that if anything is not working well, it is the nurse that will take the
Yes.
I've had situations where a patient will just be shouting, "Oh, why is this not working well? Why is this not working well? I need to see the doctor." And I'm saying, okay, the doctor would come and see you now. Please just exercise patient. The doctor is with the other patient. No, 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 no. Would take down the whole building, scream down. And when the doctor comes, it's almost like they poured hot water, cold water on them, and they're just so relaxed. I was like, really? So it's quite challenging, but I think that's one thing that comes with being like our profession. Along these 3 years, I've just had to learn to, adapt, even though it's a bad copy.
It is a bad coping mechanism. You have to adapt, just let the toxicity more, understanding, patience, enduring.
Yes, learn to be calm.
Yes.
Endure physical, not physical, like verbal abuse, and even emotional abuse sometimes. So that's as a nurse. Then physically, being a nurse takes a toll on you. Like the working hours is quite government hospital in Lagos is still like flexible.
It's still flexible compared to some other. Yes.
Yeah, private hospitals, because it's a private hospital. So government hospital, you can still say you want to protest and everything, but private hospital, you're the one that brought yourself.
You're protesting. So where are you protesting?
They'll tell you if it's not, you're not okay with it, you can as well go.
You get like where are you protesting?
I've realized that in private hospital the working hours is more, even though people have this narrative that private hospital is not that stressful.
Chill,
oh my god.
Yes.
I used to say myself, when people ask me how it work, I used to answer them in Yoruba like because it's like that means they find work now. I've talked about physical is taking a toll on like it takes a toll on you physically. Mentally, it's also like if you are not careful, you just realize that you are mentally unstable just because of how imperfect the system is, and you are just a scapegoat in all of it. Then the financial aspect, so that's like that's what even makes you sad, miserable. Because it feels when there are sometimes that when you at the end of the day, there's if the compensation is a lot, you'll be like, okay, I have
at least
to, okay, the money is great, let me just remain here, I know why I'm here. But then the money is just, it's not commensurating with what you do,
it is not
what you endure, and it's just a lot, and it just feels like other people that are not in the sector, they don't understand. It just feels like it's just ourselves.
They don't really understand, but it's a case of the number of times I've heard service to humanity.
That statement pains me. Especially when there was a time that I think you're
called to serve, service to humanity. You have to. It's a noble profession.
It annoys me because I'm like, if it was that medical school, like nurses, doctors, education was free, everything was free, and you came out and yes, now you are expected to serve. I will understand that I'm giving back. But when I was paying school fees
and even the mental stress in the school, dealing with those lecturers, dealing with the long hours of studying,
like I said to myself that my parents invested a lot in me. So this is the time to do ROI, like return of investment. They're not telling me I shouldn't work for the money, I should work for the passion. Like
I hear that so much that I don't even get angry anymore. I just don't have the conversation. I just say, you know what, passion has been no problem. I want to passionately have money. It's not a bad thing to passionately say I'm a nurse, I'm a doctor, or a dentist, or whatever it is. I'm passionately have.
Is it passion that will feed me? Like me too, I want to go for vacation.
Do you understand?
I want to do so it's passion that will do all those things. I'm just like, we are not ready for that conversation, but I just feel like they are just being, I don't know what's the word, they're just being hypocritical. Like, they don't want to say the truth. Because if you were to be in that shoe, you wouldn't say that you are working a 9 to 5 and you not being paid in that same way because of passion.
Do you understand? Do you get? I think it's one thing I had to really learn and tell myself. I'm going to work in Nigeria, for example, and live in Nigeria. you can still be passionate, but you have to be passionate with sense.
Yes.
You get, if not, they are really going to use you and use you to the fullest. And when you now want to push back, they will now remind you of, are you not passionate again? Are you not, is it not a sense for humanity?
The sad thing is, we've had serious cases of where people slump, like healthcare workers, and they died. And the sad thing is, they will move on.
Yeah.
The highest they'll do for you is maybe candle lights. I'm not trying
maybe those candle light, they'll tie, they'll tie black ribbon. I don't know if you guys do it for doctors. We tie like a black ribbon, and that's it for the flowers. That's what we do.
Maybe candle light, they post you all over social media.
They don't candle light, you tie ribbon and keep you pushing. Yeah, they just post, do that social media, at least 24 hours max. And that's
even if it lasts for 1 month, 2 months, they start. The funny thing is that the day you pass, they will not shut down to
shut down.
Because
even if you think you care about you shutting down, so you can't even be sad. You can't even show any form of emotion. You can't say, oh, I lost maybe a friend or a colleague or even somebody close to you, a family, or you can't show any form of sad emotion. You have to be enthusiastic. You have to be professional. If I'm more or less like a robot, no emotion, you are doing the work, you are doing everything. If you want to cry, go to your house. Don't cry.
You are not the hospital to cry in front of.
Do you understand?
Like, why are you crying?
It's crazy. It's terrible. But my question now is, if you were to, and I'm one of the things that we share actually in the podcast, if you were to really talk about what are the things that you think from the nurse's perspective that we can change and work around especially in the healthcare system, what are the things that you think that maybe if you can change this, change that, either from the government part or the regulations part, or even from the hospital part, what are the things that you think?
Let me start from yes. So from the government part, I would think remuneration. That's like very important because I was having a conversation with my colleague where we just rant about our life and all of that.
Yeah.
And I just at one point in the conversation, it now dawned on me that probably the problem is the fact that our skill or our qualification is not appreciated enough for you to see that, oh, these people deserve this particular skill. Because this I finished NYC at this time last year. So at this time last year, I was in between jobs, looking for a job, and it just opened my eyes to, like, I'm just like, so you don't even have conscience. How will you offer this to you? You say, so I'm going to be paying this so amount, and you're going to be working this so. I'm like, it's that you don't have conscience to actually even say that this is the amount you want to be paying. And I feel like why that is very common in the Nigerian system is just because our value, our skill, our expertise is not appreciated.
No, I agree with you. I think, I've already told, as mentioned or shared the fact that when I tell people how much I earned in my first job as a medical, not even house job. See, house job, we're living the life. When I served, and when I started serving, they were I think my first job, I think they paid me less than 100. I think it was 80,000 there. Yeah. It was a case of accept it, you are serving, and it was a service to humanity, accept it. Or I'm like, wait, what will I do?
And when you realize like there are other career, like I spend a lot of time on TikTok. And, what has been coming on my timeline more is this graduate training programs and all of that. At some point, I was just like, maybe I should go.
Do you understand? That's why I said a lot of people are really leaving the healthcare system.
Yes,
because becoming doctors or nurses or even any other thing. I'm moving to having either multiple jobs, and even in multiple jobs, it's not even multiple jobs in healthcare. It's multiple jobs with other skill, other talent, because they know that even this their healthcare, it's not paying as much.
And it's not even about the present.
Yes.
Because some people will say, oh, when you climb up the ladder, for speaking from the nurse's perspective, like unlike other career where you say, okay, let's say the banking industry or other industry, there is like a path, you can see a path of career growth that, okay, I can climb up the ladder. But in nursing, it's not like that, especially at the bedside, clinical part of nursing.
Yes.
You have to search like you are digging for gold. You literally have to search like, okay, what's the career path?
Yes.
And that was a conversation I had with myself. And I think I had with someone that I regard as my mentor. That's like my pastor of my local church. She is also a nurse, and that conversation always stick with me. She was like, oh, it was that conversation that actually prompted me to, to say, okay, let me leave the government sector and go into the private. Because she was like, look at your senior colleagues, those that you regard as matron, they've been here for, like, some of them have been here for 10 to 15 years. And even though literally you would not want, like, just look at, in a sense, you might not be in the next 10 to 15 years, you might not be where they are, but it's just going to give you a guideline that you might be in a similar position as that. So you kind of ask yourself, do you like to see yourself in
following that same trajectory, or you have to pivot into something else?
So I realized that in the clinical part, at least for myself, and based on like other research I've done, like comparing with other countries, career path in clinical side is a bit streamlined. You most likely end up being a nursing manager.
And that's it.
I got to be corrected. Like, I'm sure like nurses are, but let's talk about averagely, like the average hospital, you end up being a nursing management, a nursing manager. There's nothing like being a nurse clinical specialist in different fields, or just specializing in, like, as it is in other country. So that is another part that the government should look into, like see how to reform. For example, if I want to further in Nigeria, like my options are limited,
very limited actually.
I say I want to do masters, there are limited options to go for. It's either education, public health, or masters in nursing.
Yes.
Or like in other countries,
there are you can streamline it. There are other ways to streamline your master specialization.
And the flexibility.
Yes.
Our education is not flexible, and I think that is something that the government should work on. Like comparing abroad system is so flexible in such a way that when I say abroad system, the country I'm familiar with is UK and US, because I read a lot of things about them, and I like climbing the career ladder is quite, because they understand that yes, you work long hours, and the hours you have left to relax and all of that is limited. So they make education like quite flexible in such a way that you can work from home, and you can or you can work and also like do like a top up program while you are working. But I don't know. In case some people don't know, we have like people that went to school of nursing, and they did 3 years. For them to get their degree, there's part of the program where they are required. These people are qualified nurses. You even see matrons. They still expect them to go back to the for clinical posting.
Yes.
And up to today, I can't wrap my head around, like, my matron, maybe she doesn't have this one is not like I'm painting a scenario. It is what has happened. My matron that is like my matron on the ward, she's coming for clinical posting to come and do what? Is it me that will teach her or what? So, unlike abroad where top up BSc program is something you do online.
You do online, and then just to top up and
and I guess what you are learning is not the clinical aspect, because you know that already. It's just
like the administrative aspect.
The administrative aspects and other things that probably you need to bridge the gap. Not the clinical aspect that's what you went to do in 3 years. So there needs to be a reform in the education, the remuneration. Then I think that's like the two basic things. Then our body needs to stand up for us more.
Yes.
Like we are so used to, and I think it's one of those things that most times when I'm ranting too much, I'm like, I'm looking forward to when this thing is annoying me. I will just change. I will become a nursing leader. I'm going to policy making one day, because I just feel like no. That's why it feels like they want to eat us young, or to say, like, we have issues we arise at the place of work where you expect for your nursing leader to defend you and speak up for you, but for some reason they would always point familiar, you should, what went wrong? You should have done it this way. You should have done it that way. And I'm like, are you? It's almost like they forget that they were working in the bedside.
They were once, working at the bedside before.
It's so painful. So I feel like if you're a nursing leader and you're listening to this podcast, is to, be in that position where you advocate for the younger ones like ourselves. Like, ask us. It is rare for you to say nothing that to say, oh, how are you doing today? How is work? Do you have any complaints? But when they come, it's always, oh, you're not well dressed. Your hair is only, just one complaint or the other.
They focus on ridiculous
things, not important things.
Yeah,
so that's for government. And for hospitals, it's just respect, like respect our expertise and, our expertise. That's the word. And, although some hospitals are doing well on that, but some hospitals also need to work better. And even not just hospital, to the fellow Nigerians, like, I get the fact that people have like bad experiences when it comes to nurse, and it still comes to the fact that the average Nigeria, the first, when you say I want to go and see a nurse, there is 99% probability that the person you are going to meet is not a licensed nurse.
Yes.
Is a quack. That's the word we use for them.
A quack.
And because of that sort of build like a narration that, oh, nurses are these, they don't know what they are doing and everything.
Yeah.
So it boils down to let people, like, we need to reschool our level of orientation to know that not all people that wear white are nurses. So based off on the experience you have with them, you not generalize and say, oh, nurses are wicked, nurses are witches. I feel like it's very unfair to the good nurses like myself.
I don't think you should generalize that. I think you should treat people individually and don't just generalize any profession or people.
Treat us with respect. Like, I don't know why. I don't know if but it is something common that I've experienced a lot, where they just see that because you're a nurse, they feel like they have the right to just disrespect you.
They show their beauty comment. They say very offensive
a lot of things, and I'm like,
they be like, you cannot slap them, cannot beat anyone, you cannot fight, cannot retaliate. You just take it because, again, noble profession.
And a normal woman being, I don't think it's right for. I get that, okay, you are in it's a sensitive situation, right? There is life involved, but it's not right for you to come to my office and you are harassing me.
Yes.
It's not something that we experience like other sectors experience. I know some people like customer service and all of that, but it's not as bad as...
No, it's not as bad as healthcare. It's not as bad as healthcare, because even aside from our own bodies, our own, the regulatory body don't even protect us, because for some other industries, they are protected.
Yes.
But for us, it's every man for himself. Like, you're protecting yourself, guarding yourself. It's every man for himself. And yes, I completely agree with you. We need to actually do more. And I think one of the things I also want to add is the fact that I know a lot of people have had bad experiences too. Yeah. We're going to be fair with some nurses. Do you get some matrons or midwives? But I think a lot of things I would also like to add is that I would say the truth is we are all humans, one, but most importantly, I think we should try as much as possible to not forget the things that we've learned. And one of those things, probably for ethics, is empathy. You show empathy. I'm not even saying sympathy, I'm saying showing empathy. Even when sometimes some patients or relatives can be very rude and annoying, but just you try to maintain some level of, like, say, decorum and show empathy, either during emergencies or during cases. But we have people that they've had bad experiences.
So it's got to Dr.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest, I say this most of the time, that if people say, oh, nurses are wicked and everything, but if you were to be in our shoe,
you say my do worse,
because I don't want to use the word that I say that I've learned about patients, but it's just very annoying. Let me paint a scenario. There are two people, maybe in the year, there are two people, and you are coming, you are saying, "Oh, I have a slight headache. Please, can you just attend to me?" And you see someone literally gasping for air, and you're like, "But I've been here since. Why don't you attend to me?" And you want to abuse me physically. And I'm like, "Madam, calm down." So what do you mean it should be calm? I'm also a human being. You're a human being. If you were to be in that situation, I should end it. I should leave gasping for air. Like, so a lot of things that Nigerians say, if you were to be in our and I used to say that people say nurses are wicked, nurses are wicked, but I've been in that position where I realized that, oh, I see the reason why nurses like flare up and they now tend to present as being wicked. But in my case, what I try to do is just to control myself, like have self-control and still use wisdom. But I'm not trying to like give excuse for situations where you say the nurses was being unfair or everything. But if you were to judge that matter, you know that it is not entirely the nurses' fault. Those patients, those people saying, "Oh, I went to the hospital, clinical," they too they have a fault in it. So let everybody pick their blame. It is not it is not for it's the honest truth actually.
Yeah, actually,
so let everybody just pick their blame.
Yes, I think everyone should just, like I said, show some level of decency, like in all areas, and really understand. Trust me, it's like a hospitals or even can be a zoo. But I think zoo is even better. I don't know how to describe, like a war ground, war zone. It can be crazy.
I will say something that the experience we have like in the hospital, like working in the clinical side, is like African Magic Part 1, Part 2, Part 3. You don't need to watch it. Just reminiscing on what happened, you just be laughing at yourself. Like, is that complex?
It's that complex. But anyways, it's been like an amazing time actually. Even me, I'm learned a lot, and I think people watching also they've had like a different understanding about at least some sort of information about the nursing aspect of healthcare. And I know that we can, like I always say, we can only get better. And I hope that and that's part of the reason why I'm having this podcast. And that this podcast is here is so we can not just only throw more light on the healthcare system, or find ways to really achieve the things that we really want to achieve. But I want to thank you very much, Nurse Sweety, for coming today.